Welcome back to our year end of No Guitars Without Music. It's been a while, so it's lovely to get back in touch with Nick again. And we'll just go straight into it. So, Nick, fill us in. It's been a while. Spill the beans.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, what have I done? A million things, actually. But stack of gigs at the moment. It's pretty crazy busy with gigs. And mostly, like, it's Christmas. It's Christmas Carol gig time at the moment. But there's a bunch of other things. I'm doing the film soundtrack for Love Actually tomorrow.
Oh, sweet.
With full orchestra playing the film. So I get to play Santana's Smooth because that's in the movie.
Nice.
And Songbird, Eva Cassidy, which is a really pretty song, and it's largely just guitar and vocal, and it's her actual vocal in my in-ears.
Oh, cool.
So I'm playing the acoustic guitar part along with her, which is pretty cool, you know, and then the orchestral stuff, and yeah, so there's a lot of that at the moment, and all kinds of random stuff, YouTube stuff, and it's been busy.
For those following you, they'll know about that guitar, but you've got a Fender Strat that you've been loving of late, right?
I love this guitar. I really do. It's a 94 Strat, and it was Japanese, made in Japan. And it was one of those ones, so this has got the American pickups.
Right.
You know, one of those ones, and the proper bent saddle, and the proper size block. It's not your smaller block.
Yep.
I cut a hole there because those 6-hole things suck. But I've modified it extensively. So I put one of Glenn's pickups in there.
Right.
That's an Integrity plus 5%. So just a little hotter. And then this guy Brad at Tone Merchants, I don't know if you know him.
Yep.
He did me up a wiring harness. Yeah, so this is a blender. So I can blend in, say I'm on the neck pickup, I can blend in the bridge and any kind of degree. And I love it. I didn't think I'd like that, but man, like that's neck pickup. Sorry, that's neck pickup. And that's neck and bridge.
Oh, sweet.
So kind of get a little bit of telish and get all 3 pickups if you want, but I haven't really kind of gone down that road. I had it refretted. So these are bigger frets rather than the vintage, and I got a 10-inch radius. 10-inch radius and medium jumbo-ish, slightly smaller medium jumbo, a new nut, new pickup, new wiring. So it's a mongrel Nick Granville guitar. There you go.
Nice. I mean, it suits you to a T, and I'm really glad that you're enjoying that format as well.
It's really. I mean, they're the most comfortable guitar, right? Yeah. And you can kind of go Gibson-ish if you want down there, and then the Fendery sounds are just. I try to fight it for a long time, but it's kind of
it's kind of home based, right? Because I guess when starting out and you could only afford one guitar, then that was the one guitar that could For me, it was like Gary Moore and Stevie Ray.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is too, it's not just being able to afford it. It's sometimes like there's so many gigs where I can only really have one guitar. Yeah. You don't have time to swap instruments, or it's so tonally different from the last song that it's just not, the sound man's going to be chasing the sound the whole time. So just having one instrument makes a huge, and I've been using it on jazz gigs and all kinds of stuff. I did a couple of jazz gigs recently where I just took this and just make it work. Yeah, it can do it, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. Hey man, it's all in the hands.
It's gonna work, right? Like you can, yeah. And I mean, Oz Noise been doing that, and then Near Fielder and people like this. I'm like, screw it, man. This is the guitar for me. So yeah.
With the HSS format, they always ask, how do you manage to go between the volume difference between the single coils and the humbuckers? So I mean, I'll be curious to hear what you've got to say in that regard.
I don't really find it an issue. Like neck pickup. I'm running through the little Tweed Deluxe with a Hall of Fame for reverb because it has no reverb. So just a bit of verb from the Hall of Fame. I mean, it is louder in the bridge pickup, but I generally, if I'm going there, I'm kind of going to rock out. And so
my answer is simple. The guitar's got a volume knob, so use it.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing I want to do is put a treble bleed on it. That's
right.
Because I do find it gets really dark when I turn down.
In that case, I should probably send you this as well. I've got that right here. If you do want that value, the 680p, got a nice old one sitting over here.
Oh, nice.
I'll send it
Yeah,
to you.
cool. You sent me one before, which I used in the Porrid Smith, I think it was. But and what I did was I put alligator clips on it, and then I could just try them all. And that was the best thing.
Yeah.
Because I found that, just swap it. Even just slightly swapping one value would make a huge difference sometimes. And especially in how it tapered and where it would cut, So, so I'll do the same with this. I'll put some alligator clips on and just experiment with it.
Sweet. And how's the tuning stability? It's holding up fine for you, right?
Been really good. I do usually have the tremolo in, and I find with the tremolo I really only just it's like a slight wobble, like about that at most, you know what I mean? So it's not really an issue, do you know what I mean? I'm not dive bombing or anything. So
True.
And I tune between every song on every gig anyway, or recording or whatever. I'm just constantly retuning. Chuck one of these on your headstock and boom. Yeah. But what's that guitar that you got there? Is that the Eric Johnson one?
Yeah,
or?
That's the first EJ I got. So then subsequently I liked this so much I bought 2 more. But this one's been with me the longest. And I think we've spoken about it before when it got refretted, but jumbo stainless steels. Like they're pretty huge. And
actual jumbos?
Yeah, 6100.
Do you know what one? Oh, 6100.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I like that on this guitar because it kind of gives it a bit of that 80s Super Strat vibe. And
I love big frets.
Yeah.
And
that was like my, when I was growing up, that was the thing. The jumbos do give it a bit of that, you can get by with much lower action as well. The fretboard, as you can see, started nicely, relicking. Like the custom shop takes ages to get. It's already happened.
Yeah.
And here's what I've been noticing of late. So the back of the neck, I don't know if you can see it, started getting really sticky. So, asked a couple of friends for some advice, and this kept popping up. Zippo lighter fluid.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to have that, and the it's 0000 steel wool of Mitre 10. So I think I spent...
I do the same, but it's... as you can see, 1200 grit sandpaper.
Right.
You've got to go if you go too hard, like even 400 or 600, you'll feel the scratches. Whereas 1200 just smooths it. And I did that a little bit here. I took a little, just a light layer off because it was kind of like sticky.
Is
not
that
sticky, but
nitro as well?
Slippery. No, it's poly.
It's poly. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's poly. I'm not totally sure, but if it's good enough for David Gilmour, it's good enough for me.
So, there's after doing the lighter fluid thing, the necks become nice and smooth again. So I think I'll give it another go, maybe tomorrow on the weekend. And the humbuckers are Thornbucker from Suhr, and these are the Landau. So Eric Johnson Strat, Mike Landau pickups, and Pete Thorn humbucker.
Love it.
But it's my guitar. You got any other gear this year apart from that guitar?
Yeah, I had a Quad Cortex recently on loan from MusicWorks, which I was checking out, and man, it's really good. Like, there's a lot of good things about it. I'm not crazy about it. Like, in terms of it feels really compressed under the fingers, but and it makes sense, right? Like, the metal guys love those Quad Cortexes for that reason, I think. And I watched an interview with Rick Beato, with the CEO of Quad Cortex, and he was very much a metal kind of guy, kept talking about metal bands, and I thought, that makes sense, right? To me, I'm kind of more into the cleaner, the Fractal stuff's the best I've found with it so far, but man, it's so easy to use, the touch screen and the little controls that are foot switches. And I saw they put out the John Mayer thing today, and I thought, that's interesting. I'm going to get the demo of that tonight. My amp, the MPC, you can't see it right now, but it's just over here. That's just had a recap from Simon, so that's sounding great. Really good. Like, the hum's gone right down and it's functioning properly, and such a great little amp for recording,
Nice.
I bought a Suhr Riot pedal.
Oh, nice.
Have you tried one of those?
I owned one for years. It was my my Bollywood distortion. That's what I called it. Basically, my lead sound in a Bollywood context was just too big and fat to play behind vocals. So I would switch to the Riot, which was like much leaner, but it was really focused in the mids. You could really get it to park in a certain frequency range that sat well with vocals. So every time you needed those big power chords and they were singing on top of it, that was the distortion I'd go to.
It's awesome. I first found out about that pedal it was my favorite in the Fractal AX8 when I had that. I'd always use the model in that. And then with the FM9 and then FM3, I found myself, again, always leaning on that for the higher gain. Yeah. So when one popped up, I grabbed it, and I love it. It's a fantastic
Is yours the
pedal.
original version, or then they made a version 2 where they leaned it out a little bit?
No, it's the original one.
I had an original in black, and some guy in Dunedin bought it. And I kind of regret, because it was like a limited edition. They almost purple, I think, but that was like a nice black one. The first time I saw that pedal, I was playing a gig with A.R. Rahman in Dubai, and the other guitar player, Sanjeev Thomas. He had this massive guitar sound on stage. I was like, what the heck is this guy using? And the guy was literally plugged straight into a Riot and the Riot into a Twin. He had nothing else. And he got this massive sound. I was like, shit, that's a good sounding pedal. I need to get one of those.
It works really well with Fender amps, which is kind of what I'm about. Yeah. And most of my pedals are overdrive, like the Dude, or even the OCD is sort of meant to be a hard clipping distortion, but it's still not really distortion. So that's why I picked that one up. And it's almost it's crazy because some settings it almost sounds like a fuzz, but a fuzz kind of at the lower territory, and I really dig it. So, man, I've been using that one a heap. And sounds really good plugging that into the Fractal, using the real pedal into the modeler.
Try hitting the Riot with another pedal in front. It takes getting boosted.
That's what I'm doing.
If you can run it at 18 volts, it just gets a bit more muscle. If you've got a thing on your pedal supply, to run it at 18 volts, try that.
I haven't tried that one, but that's definitely something I'll do for sure.
Yeah, something I built. It's a treble booster. So I finally got around to putting it in a box. And it's pretty simple.
Which treble booster? The Brian May range master thing?
There's a few different versions. So basically the circuit is pretty much a range master. But for those who like the geeky part of it, the range master is what you call a PNP transistor, which is one polarity, and the one I use is an NPN. Now, an NPN, the advantage of it is the polarity is the same as guitar power supplies, which means the ground is positive and the center is negative. So I've got it the other way around, but basically the NPN, you don't have to get the polarity switched inside. So you can use a normal power supply with it. So we had a bunch of those NPNs that work, and I was like, this looks like something I can handle. So I just took a bit of a small Vero board, and I haven't got it here lying somewhere. It's this old maths textbook, with the cross kind of thing, what they call a grid or whatever. So I got around to sketching the schematic, and then I managed to shrink it really small, so it's like the circuit's actually really tiny. And 9-volt battery, no power supply and everything like that. Dirt simple. If I get time, I'll see if I can build you one, and I'll send it across. They're super. It just takes maybe 2 hours or something at the most to get this whole thing together. It's so
man,
simple.
I'd love to check it out.
Yeah.
So the advantage of running it off battery is what? Why wouldn't you put a 9-volt barrel connector on it?
In a circuit like a fast face and a treble booster, the battery almost becomes part of the circuit. There's a certain internal resistance that your power supply doesn't have. And speaking of batteries, again at work, they found an entire carton of multimeters that had older batteries than was supposed to be in there. And they don't F around. They just swapped all the batteries out. And they were reading fine. So I brought them home.
I love it.
And I went through them. And I found maybe 30 or 40% of them were testing at 8 volts. And I was like, hang on, that's going to come in useful. You get a fuzz pedal, put a slightly lower voltage. And so if you want some 8-volt batteries, let me know.
That's great, because some power supplies you can actually simulate the sag, but I don't think it's the same as actually a battery in there doing.
I forgot, maybe it was Mason from Vertex or someone, a pedal builder like that, saying that there's some difference in the battery's voltage dropping and then you dropping it from your power supply. Something changes in that. Anyway, so point being, it's not the same.
You can get there's a little unit I've seen, and I think Josh Smith has one, and it's a little box about yay big, and it will hold 4 9-volt batteries, and you then you can send them out to wherever you want. And if one battery goes flat, it just automatically scrolls over the next.
Mason
and
built
they're hot swappable. You can just...
He built it for George Smith, but before that he had built it for Landau. And Landau apparently, I think, had one built in the 90s by Bob Bradshaw. He had it in his rack because he had some pedals that he found that the power supplies weren't sounding the same as batteries. So he had that battery box, and then I guess he probably gave, Mason the idea to do it or whatever. But yeah, it's been because remember when like Eric Johnson said, "Oh, the alkalines don't sound the same as the carbon batteries," and everyone thought he was nuts. And then 20 years later, he knew what he was talking about. It's just that this is what the science is.
You been doing any gigs? Like, you've been playing? Like,
I did a nice gig. I think last month or the month before at the Titirangi Festival of Music. So that was the first time I did a Black Star Blues set in a very, very long time. And I've got another one of those sets at the Auckland Blues Club in Jan on the 21st. So,
nice.
Finally nice to kind of brush the cobwebs off that set. And then in Feb, I'm playing at the Mahindra Blues Festival and playing before Eric Gales and Matt Schofield. So wish me luck.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Is that in India, though?
That's in Mumbai.
Oh, in Mumbai. Yeah. Nice. Man, those guys are killer too,
Yeah, they've played the festival before, and I remember the year before I played for the first time, Matt Schofield was, I think it was 2011, and I was recording at a studio literally across the road from the venue, and I had to tell them, guys, just give me like an hour or so. I'm just going to cross the road, watch a gig and come back. I just want to watch Matt Schofield. I'm not going to watch anyone else, just want to watch this guy. So I did, and I think the next day he had a clinic, but after his gig I went back to the studio, and then I was going through Twitter and I just found Gary Moore died. So it was like watching a great guitar player, and then you get these highs and lows kind of thing.
Bittersweet, yeah.
The next day at the clinic, he was taking questions from the audience, so I just asked him, like, what's your requirement on a rental amp? He's like, that it works. I was like,
exactly.
Yep. But how do you go about setting it? So he was talking about that concept. You bring on the tone knobs and you listen to like the cusp. Like at one point the knob will just bloom and like start doing its thing, and that's where you leave it. So I've been following that ever since. It's a pretty useful thing to know.
Totally. Yeah, he was due to come to New Zealand actually 2 years ago, and Roger Fox was going to bring him out to play with his big band, and then Roger passed away. Of course, that didn't happen, but it was pretty sad, But yeah, I'd like to have met him. I've seen him around. I saw him around at the NAMM show. I never got a chance to talk to him. There was sort of one of those things where he was kind of chatting with people he knew and just left him alone. But I'd like to meet him sometime. But I did meet Eric Gales at there was this event when the NAMM show's on. They have all these concerts that are happening in venues around the vicinity, and there was this one which they called the X-NAMM event. And my friend Mark Lettieri was playing, and Mark got me comp tickets. And of course, the comp tickets, all the people with Mark's comp tickets sit at the same table. And one of the other people with Mark's comp tickets was Eric Gales and his lady, And so I got chatting to him because he was just there the whole night, And I was like, dude, why aren't you up there playing too, He's like, oh, one day maybe I will, And I'm like, no, you should be up there playing. Amazing guitar player, and yeah, I love his playing a lot. Yeah. Just a badass.
I think I first heard of him, I think, in a guitar magazine in the 90s, when I think he was just coming onto the scene at the same time Bonamassa was, roughly. And then, it's awesome to see him, like, his whole trajectory, and, he's finally, right up where he's supposed to be. One thing I really like that I've stolen, I'll tell you one thing I've stolen from Matt Schofield as well. So like you're in a A thing. So Matt used to do this, that kind of lick. So I've stolen that heaps. But coming back to Eric Gales, I saw a version of him playing Little Wing, where you go to this part. You kind of go back into the cycle then, but he did at one point, maybe after like 4 or 5 cycles, when he came to this part, he just cycles that. And I love doing that now because it kind of just gives you a different way to, go and, jam on that for a little bit, because it's more like a four chord cycle, which you can then start,
It's essentially just 1-4-5, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Like G, C, F, but you have that. Sorry, G, C, D, but you have that F chord kind of setting it up.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, half of it's also like Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
So you can get into that minor pentatonic thing, a little bit of it as well. Otherwise, you're kind of just sticking on the G major, and then you try to go on like a G minor kind of a thing, which is pretty cool. So every time I play Little Wing now, I always do that at the end.
Great idea. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that one too, and then I'm gonna pretend it was my own thing. And
It should become the norm now. Just always play Little Wing with those 4 chords cycling at the end.
The thing with Little Wing is that if it just goes round and round the chord changes, it gets kind of, after a while, gets stale, doesn't it? Or it can do, depending on who's playing it, how they're playing it. Yeah.
Let me ask you
Cool,
a question.
man.
Do you like the Sting version with the Hiram Bullock solo?
It's okay. It's not my favorite version of it, but
Same.
I like Hiram Bullock's playing a lot. I found with him he could be kind of a little hit and miss. Like one thing would be great, and the very next thing I'd hear with him would be like just okay. He was never bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy could play his ass off, but yeah, my favorite thing with Sting doing a guitarist with a famous guitarist was probably Me, which was I didn't know, but it was Eric Clapton. For years I thought that was Dominic Miller playing that, because Dominic was his long-time guitar player, but it was actually Clapton that played that solo on Probably Me. It's killer.
Yeah.
Great tone and touch and loads of space. Like it just breathes and perfectly complements the vocal. And yeah, what about you? Have you got any new gear you've had lately?
Right.
Any new cool stuff?
Well, label maker.
Label maker.
That's probably my favorite purchase all year. Actually, no. But after I bought the Aux Stomp, I kind of I was very happy with the way things sounded. I tried a bunch of stuff. I've tried Universal's Audio Paradise Guitar Stereo. That was good fun.
Yeah, I watched your video on it, and you were complimentary of it. You thought
it felt good under
the
your
feel
fingers.
of it was good.
That's my main. I can get good sounds out of my Board XD as well if I want to, but it doesn't really feel as nice as the real amps. This one, the only thing that didn't seem to respond like the analog counterpart was the fuzz phase. Like how when you turn on your volume, it like becomes really clean and sparkly. That one didn't do it, but I guess there's like a limitation of physics. You can't fuck with the laws of physics if you actually have that impedance, whatever. So apart from that, I found everything was responding like, it should in the real world. The amps and cabs are tied together. So you can bypass the cabs and use only the amps with whatever IRs you want. But you can't bypass the amp and use the cab things by themselves, which I thought was a bit of a shame for people like me with a reactive load who would like to use it in that context.
Use it in that context, yeah.
That and
that could be just a firmware update, though, right? It kind of bring that in.
I don't think they wanted to let you do it, to be honest, because you can't even do it on the pedals. I thought on the pedals you could bypass the amp part, like on the Iridium, the Strymon Iridium, for example, some similar kind of product. You can bypass the amps and use it as purely a cab sim or an IR loader. You can't do that. So, which is why then the Aux Stomp becomes kind of the only way you can use their cab sims by themselves. And the mic choices were tied with the cabs. So if you're using that cab, it's that mic that you're going to be using and nothing else. So in a way, it's kind of liberating because you don't have to really think too much. You've got like a bunch of great sounding cabs that are already mic'd the way they think it should be. And either you like it or you don't. But then that's pretty easy to go click. I like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like. I like this. I like this. I don't like that. That sort of thing. You narrow it down to like 2 or 3. And that kind of liberates you to just make music quicker without having to.
I totally agree, yeah.
If I had 1,000
you don't need
IRs,
10,000 things, exactly.
I've bought
it gets
some
overwhelming.
of those IR packs, to be honest, and it drove me nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
there's like
because
thousands of files.
they often all sound good. Like the same thing in the Fractal. You know, they go through the list of IRs, and you go, well, this one sounds a little more mid-rangey, and then you go to the next one, and it still sounds good, but maybe it's a little more bottom end heavy. It's like they all sound good. You know what I mean? To a degree, or all usable at least. Yeah, I like the option overload thing. The best thing Fractal did was they went to what they call Dynacabs, which looks just like a couple of speakers, and you can move mics around, and you can, just simplified the whole kind of process. It's still IRs and still working, but that's all happening in the background. You just treat it like a real amp, and I like
think,
that. And then
two notes let you do that as well. You can move the mics, in 3 dimensions. There was a nice one called Miko, another cab sim plugin that would do the same thing. It would change the IRs accordingly. And but I think UA's got some, maybe it's IRs coupled with some algorithmic processing, but they say it's not completely an IR thing. I don't know from what point of view, but it does, at least to me, feel a little bit more, like every time I come to an IR, it's like, okay, that's that sound. I can't really bend it too much away from what it is. If it works, it's great, and if it doesn't, then pick another IR kind of a thing.
Exactly.
This is like when you're blending the 2 mics, in real time. Then thankfully you've got knobs to do that, so you don't really have to click on the mouse. You've just got knobs and that you're, doing sweeps with, and then you can bring in the room and stuff like that. So it's really tactile. It's nice having that on a pedal in front of me. I plug in, it's there, it sounds good. If I don't like it, I'll go to another cab. And, within 2 minutes, I'm recording.
Exactly. That's exactly how I like it. And it's sort of, I mean, to be honest, like, I haven't changed a single thing on my Fractal in 2 months. It's the exact same amp, same cabinet, same reverb, because I'm happy with it. It sounds good, it's fine. And with the amps, like using the real amps, if I'm either using that or my basement's back there, it's kind of just plug in and go. And I mean, I just set everything to 12 o'clock most of the time, right? It's the only thing I really ever adjust is the volume. And maybe I'll put some pedals into it or whatever. But it's like that whole simplicity about it is kind of key. Get a sound you're happy with, and then get on with the music and forget about it. You know what I mean? To a degree.
Yep. Here's a hot take I'd like your opinion on. If guitar players were happy with their tones, do you think the gear industry would collapse?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think we're always aiming for more, and so that people are always... I was actually thinking about that today when that John Mayer plugin came out, and I thought, man, I haven't felt that inspired by plugins like ever. I don't know why it's just not that appealing to me, and they're all getting pretty good. They're all pretty good, right? Like, I've got the S Gear one. IK Multimedia just sent me one to check out, one of their ones. I haven't installed it yet, but I will. I'm going to check out their John Mayer one, but I was kind of like, they're all fine, but I feel quite differently about real amps, and I feel quite differently about a modeler, because to me a modeler has the same kind of thing a plugin has, but you can take it to gigs, and you can take it to, for certain settings it's perfect. For certain other settings the amp is more perfect. And so to me it's like they're real things, whereas something on my computer, I don't know, I'm not, but that's just me. But for someone who's a beginner player, and they're just starting out, I'd always say, man, get a plug-in and forget about the amps and stuff, and just that you can practice, put your headphones on, practice quietly, and get started playing, and it's a good way to start. But I'm at a different stage in my life now with that. So the John Mayer one allows you to blend 3 amps just like he does live, and I thought that's interesting because a lot of them haven't done that. Yeah, sorry, go for it. Your take.
No, I was just saying, like, generally evaluating a plugin, I find like I'm happiest doing it at like 96 kilohertz and really low buffer size, Another thing is also the interface that you plug into. The dynamic range available to it is like, because your guitar signal before it hits the amp is like a hugely vast, dynamic range. And then the amp is kind of, bringing it down together and something more compact. But as long as your interface has that dynamic range to then present your guitar signal to the plugin in an optimal, level and format, then the plugin is able to do its thing. And also, like, the volume that you're monitoring at, if you're listening to that plugin like really soft, again, you're kind of reducing the dynamic range to way less than what a normal amp would be, even if it was a
Exactly.
practice amp. The moment you turn your studio monitors or your headphones up to a certain level, then that thing is able to feel a bit more like what the amp is doing. So that's like one thing while evaluating it. Like, it's, once you get to that point, then the differences started kind of, And especially for me, because I listen to the real amps loaded down every day through, the same studio monitors, I feel that, I can compare more readily to the plugin and say, okay, this is what I'm, losing. And it's gotten to a point now where that's become super minimal, I still kind of prefer having the amps around. Because they're right in front of me, I can just reach out and, turn knobs and stuff like that without having to bring up that window, while I'm working on something else. I mean, it's cool if you have like one monitor dedicated to the plugin, if you've got like 3 or 4 displays or something like that. But if you don't, then just, being able to see the amps and go, I just need a little bit more treble or something like that, is a lot easier, at least for my workflow. And in fact, I found like there's very few plugins that can even replicate the older digital stuff. That kind of has a sound of its own. So,
for sure.
It's not to say that the plugins don't sound good. They sound great. But they don't sound like, which is the reason why I still have all this.
It's quite a different experience, though, when you're loading an amp down to a digital source to be cab emulated and sent out, do you know what I mean, as opposed to actually moving ear.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things, like this little amp, you can't see it right now, but my MPC, it's basically a Princeton front end with a deluxe output. Man, I cranked that thing up this afternoon, and you could hear the walls going and it's like, it's the cab's in the room next door, it's not even in the same room as me, and you can feel it moving here. And so when I brought it up in my monitors in here, because that's how I'm listening to it, I'm not listening to it through the wall because that would suck. You get the sense that it's pushing air. It's just a different thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all usable. They're all really good now. Like I very rarely see anything now where I go, man, that just completely sucks.
Yeah.
Even the Quad Cortex that I tried, which I said it was a bit more compressed than I like it to sound. It still sounded really good. The Dumble stuff sounded good, and the way they use it, and there's all of it's pretty good now.
Yeah,
I think.
Have you ever had your real amp running into a cab that was really far away from you, and that cab was mic'd up, and all you were listening to was the studio monitors, and not like feeling the vibrations of that cab at all?
Oh, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so you
the
can't hear a
cab's
cab
literally
at all.
in the room next door. You can hear it rumbling through the wall, but you can't hear it directly.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't. You have to listen through monitors, or you just don't get any. It's really all you hear is the bottom end coming through the wall.
Yeah, because I found even that bottom end leakage, because I've been in situations, I used to have that at my old house, like a 1x12 in the closet kind of a thing. The moment you listened back, through the monitors, it felt, different than actually playing and feeling a little bit of that low end boom under
totally.
you. Yeah. So then when I used to go to these big studios for Bollywood recordings, they'd have the cab yonks away. You couldn't even hear it, feel it, nothing. It was just so far away physically. It would run on this long speaker cable. And then I found only listening to the monitors, I was like, oh, this is a totally different physical experience, I'm not even having any resemblance of that. In fact, you could just hear the amp's transformer sometimes. Just go, you could hear a little bit of noise from there when the amp was cranked. But apart from that, then that, the difference again, became, much less. I think it's feeling that just that vibration is a thing. It makes you also play differently when you've got that cap going.
Totally.
Which is why now
it's more immediate, isn't it? The way the note feels under the finger is more immediate because you're feeling the punch of the sound. Yeah. And that's what's interesting too, because when I mic this cab and it comes the cab in the room next door, and I've got 2 speakers in there. I've got an Eminence Legend ceramic, and then I've got a Jensen P12, Alnico. So 2 different speakers, and depending on, I'm only running one at a time. So I've got those 2 options, which sound quite drastically different. But it's just something about that thing that by the time it's in the other room and running through a 57, the 57 takes what we had this dynamic range and makes it this now. So then I run the ribbon mic, which has this kind of range, kind of blend them together to try and get all the frequencies back. Do you know what I mean? It's just a different thing. And then some engineer will just come and put a low cut on it anyway, and it's...
But
Right,
I mean, also like that ribbon will fill out some other frequencies apart from the low end that the 57
it does.
doesn't quite. Like the mid range is also like aligning a little bit better.
Mid-range.
Yeah.
For sure,
Totally.
for sure. Yeah.
When I first moved into this house, it's kind of funny because there's a tool shed right outside this studio window, maybe like 10 meters away. And I always thought that'll be a nice thing to just gut it and build like a nice soundproofed cab room. Just put a speaker cabinet there, and that's all that's in there, and 2 mics and run the wires back here. And when we first moved here, the building consent things, like you had to go to the council and get permission and shit like that. And now they've just taken that out, so you can actually do it.
You could. Yeah, I think you're allowed to build up to 30 meter square building without any consent. Did you see that video recently that came out with Tim Pierce and Osnoy?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, where Oz has built one in his closet.
That's a great idea.
And in New York City apartments, I was like, man, I reckon you'd still get complaints from neighbours. They would. It's not the bottom end's going to go through the floor. You're still going to hear something. And, when you're in an apartment block with a whole lot of people, I'm like, man, that must be tough. But good on him for still doing it,
He looks like, though, he's had that room specially built. So I guess the thing is what prevents the low end from traveling is like physical mass. So there must be like some really thick kind of acoustic isolation to prevent
and it must have in some kind of gap too, right? Because it's like if one surface is touching another, that's when it transfers through. But I still reckon you'd have... I've played with plenty of ISO cabs before, and you still hear something even with the best of them. You know what I mean? It's not a...
Yeah. Though I think he's probably built like a room within a room, because I had a couple of friends in Mumbai, as you know, the real estate's tight as well. But like I know a couple of guys, for them like the money wasn't a problem, so they had like specific rooms built, and you couldn't hear it like outside the house. It was like
really they actually got it to that point.
Yeah, but it does take you're wasting a whole bunch of space in mass. You're kind of reducing the size that your room is. But like for them it was cool. But I remember because they you could like have a drum kit going in there and you wouldn't hear it outside.
Yeah, so a lot of studios have to do that, and they must find a way. But with a wardrobe, that's the thing I was curious about, like how he was kind of, because that's a small space to start with, and there's only so much mass you're going to get in there, and then isolating it from touching it, is sort of. But it's cool that he does it. I mean, I noticed he had an aux box as well, so he's obviously loading it down a lot of the time too, which is cool.
That's another thing with the aux, the original aux box. It's always on, like it's always taking at least 3 dB off, if not more. So you can't, you just use it and pass it into a cab without affecting the sound. So it's always attenuating, which is kind of painful if you're using like a 20 watt on a gig, and you don't want to take anything out apart from the amps, like exactly where you want it. But it's always loading it down. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't had too much experience with attenuators and that kind of stuff. Not good experiences, so I should say. I did have a THT, whatever that one was one of those load box hot plates. Yeah. I had one of those back in the day, and I blew up my Black Panel Deluxe twice with it. Because, of course, I was like, I'm going to dime it. You know what I mean? Like, that's... If I can dime it now and then attenuate it a little bit. And so I did that on a couple of gigs. And it sounded good, but, it killed it.
Well, I got to tell you, by the way, there's a friend of mine. He has a sound reinforcement company. And like me, he's a guitar geek. So I was talking to him about, loading the amps down with load boxes and then reamping it with either tube or solid-state amps. So he's like... okay, I'm going to set this up. You come over to your place with your 100-watt Marshall and your cab. So I was like, fine. So I came over there, and he's taken my 100-watt Marshall, put it into the Suhr load, and taken the line out from there. Then he's put some kind of a screen or something behind so I can't see what the heck is going on. And then he's got like some kind of a switch box. And he's saying, okay, this is A, this is B, and this is C. And then he's looking at some level meter and he's like matching all, the three exactly the same level. So, you don't think, oh, one's louder, so it's better or whatever. So it makes me go A, B, C, A, B, C. So I started trying. A sounds like, the most like clinically, great sounding. B's got a little bit of this harmonic juice that I kind of am digging at the moment. And C just sounds like it's going to fall apart any moment. So, okay, it's between A and B. So, yeah, so you go between A and B. And like, this went on for at least half an hour listening back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then finally he tells me, okay, fine. So C was like the cheapest, $300 or $400 PA amp on the market. A was like a $4,000 lab group and some, high fidelity PA amp. And B was some Chinese thing that it's like a Class D rack, but it's super light. Like you can just pick it up with one hand, not like some, big chunky power amp. And that thing was rated at like 1,000 watts or something like that. So to be honest, like that amp, and then we went, amp directly into the cabinet and then amp load into solid state thing. And we got like super close, like it was like punchy, it felt like, amp driving a cab. So, I'll spend a little bit more time in the new year in testing, that sort of thing. But it could be a good solution. Then you can, get your amp at any volume that you want with that. And I believe there was some talk about like, some manufacturers like Suhr or something making a solid state power amp for that purpose, which could be quite interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of the Fractal guys do that. They take go out to a solid state amp, which then runs a cab, a 2x12 cab or a 4x12 cab or whatever. I had an interesting chat with my friend George. He was out here recently. He was playing with a band, what do they call themselves? Cairo Knife Fight, which is with Nick Gaffney, who's actually a New Zealander.
Yeah,
I've known George for a number of years, but George plays in the Black Eyed Peas. Yep. This is his normal gig. And George was saying that one of the keys to make it, because he uses a Fractal when he uses those, because it's all racked up and it just flies with the stuff, whereas he's really an amp guy, like he's really into the Friedman amps, but he was saying with the Fractal, what he does is he goes out of it and goes into either a stereo tube preamp or a stereo tube compressor, and then he hits it quite hard to get the tubes compressing, and he said that's the key to making, he said, any of the digital stuff feel more like an amp.
Yep.
And I was like, I haven't tried that yet, but that's what he was saying. And so he's doing the opposite. Instead of going tube amp into solid state to out, he's going modeling into tube, hit it a bit hard, and then going out to front of house. And I thought that was an interesting, I've never heard of anyone doing that.
So what's the
Everyone
tube
just
device
seems to
you're
go
using?
direct out. Some custom-made tube stereo preamp.
Oh, okay.
Two pre's, stereo. Or it was either pre or compressor, I can't remember. But he said he wasn't compressing. I don't remember him saying anything about compression. It was more like just hitting in the front of it to get the tubes to work and get some of that sound back in there.
Any cool gigs you're looking forward to in the new year?
New Year's Eve. Got New Year's Eve on the waterfront with the orchestra. So we'll be playing a bunch of pop songs. So we're doing Don't Stop Believin'. I get to do that solo.
Nice.
I still haven't quite figured out how I'm going to get those last two notes. And then with the don't have enough frets. But what I have done is gone.
Oh, nice.
And pinch harmonic it, but it's risky because I can get it 9 times out of 10, but there's that one time when you don't pinch it right and you,
You know what you could do? You could cheat. Just kick on your whammy block for the last one and go.
It's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up 2 patches in the Fractal, because I'll probably use the Fractal on that, and then I'll go. One will be with the guitar transpose and octave, and I'll just punch it up for those 2 notes, and then back to the regular. It's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. I was going to take that. I was tempted to take my pedal board down, and they said they could supply a deluxe reverb, but man, last time I used that same deluxe reverb in that setting, it just sucked. It was horrible because it's a big outdoor stage. There's no reflection and no sound, and a 112 20 watt amp just sounds small in that kind of setting. So they got a super reverb as well, and I used that one of the other ones there that and super reverb was great, but man, the cello player in front of me, the poor girl was looking around at me going, and I'm like, it's not my fault, I'm very sorry, I've got a job to do here. But it was just blasting, and to get it to sound good, so it's one of those things. So I think what I might do is take the Fractal and do that trick out to the effects loop again, and then I can get a sound at a reasonable volume without killing anyone and go direct, and should work. And then also I can do stuff like that pitch shift to get those notes, and which I can't do any other way. So yeah,
awesome. Wish you all the best for that gig, and
thanks, man.
We shall catch up shortly in the new year. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.